This is the podcast commentary for episode 126, Immunity Starts in the Mind. So you just did your live class on immunity. Beyond the obvious was one of the main topics. So, the topic is really high on everyone's minds today, obviously, because of what's going on. So the topic makes sense. I think that's obviously the inspiration for it. That it starts in the mind is kind of beyond the obvious. Some people don't know that, so maybe you could start with that.
Start and end with that, because it is all in the mind, meaning we have people are out, we try, even we've talked about it, we're on Amazon or in our health food store or in Whole Foods. The shelves are empty with zinc. The shelves are empty with homeopathics. Everybody is trying to boost their immunity with these external substances. Now, that's okay. That's our acquired immunity. Yes, you do need to have good food, good sleep, exercise. But is anybody addressing what's going on in the mind? The mind is where it all starts. If we're fearful, the mind is what's created this pandemic to begin with. Because what feeds a virus, and it sounds like I'm out on a limb here, but what is actually feeding a virus? What feeds a virus? The worst virus we could ever have is the virus of the mind, called anger, animosity, jealousy, fear. Fear drives it all. Fear is what creates the anger and animosity and jealousy, irritation, lack of compassion. So it does start in the mind. So what do we need to do? We need to come back and start bringing our mind back home and working with ourselves. And that's why I've been really a proponent of breath work, meditation, yoga asana. People do exercise, but it has to always go and start from the mind. We need a mindset. I call it in my new book that, I'm finishing right now, The Mind's Metabolism. How is our mind digesting? When we don't digest anger, animosity, these things don't digest. What do they create? They create sludge in our auric field, our energy field. And so what happens is our immune system gets compromised. It's as simple as that. Our immune system gets more compromised by the way we think, if it's in a negative or pessimistic way, than not eating our vitamin in the day with our food, etc. I had done some research and I looked on the NIH, and there was actually a study where pessimism will actually cause inflammation. And what's pessimism? Pessimism is negative thinking. So the intention that I had behind doing this episode, as well as the classes that I'm doing now and the private clients that I'm working with, is how do we detox our mind so that we could stay in that light of compassion, that light of love, that light of service to humanity. It's the positive thoughts, the positive change that we have or that we want to create that's actually going to let us rise above the virus. It will actually kill the virus. If everyone were to get together and realize that we are the creation of whatever's out in the world, and we come together as a whole to serve each other and serve and use nature, but use it with love and respect, then everything becomes fine. Viruses don't just happen. Bacteria doesn't just happen. They're all there all the time. But when we feed it, it begins to grow and grow and grow. And everyone I've spoken to recognizes now is the time that we must come back and do our own inner work. It's the it's self-exploration that we need to do. For myself, even myself, with this whole shutdown, it's not too much of a difference between the way I live my life day to day, but I don't go, usually I've gone to the store once a week and I was able to get rice. I'm not going to talk about toilet paper again on this episode, but let's just talk about rice. And the shelves are empty in most cases. So that's where it's a little bit, I make bread now. But the point is, we all have to make some changes, but it's also a beautiful opportunity. Again, I'm a human being just like everyone else, to go within and see, what is it? How have my ways contributed to the collectiveness? So we're not blaming anyone. Forget the sticks and stones and all of that. This person did it. It started in China. It's here and here. We're all on this globe together, and we're all contributing, whether we know it or not, Everyone's contributing to what's manifesting right now. So how can we make that change? And if we all rise above, get our spiritual uplift, raise our mind to a higher vibratory quality, and I show people how to do this. It's 40 years of practice. We raise our vibration so that others can bathe in our own vibration of light. And it's really about lighting the path for others. And all of us have that responsibility. And that's really what it is. Take someone by, well, we can't touch the hand now and hold hand. We have to have social distancing. But psychically, let's do it together. Let's raise our mind. Let's lift our thoughts. Get off of the media networks. If you want to know about, go to the CDC if you want to know about the virus. By not supporting that sensationalism, you'll already start to quiet things down. We are contributing we can't control our senses. So seal your senses, focus your mind, go inward and check. You could check once a day if you want. Give yourself 10 to 15 minutes of what's happening in the CDC or the WHO, people that are not really trying to sensationalize anything, but trying to protect the betterment of, our health and the health of all of humanity, as well as nature. So that's really where we want to be. We want to start taking some responsibility.
It's amazing to see that some people are, and it's encouraging that we are rising up to the opportunity of focusing on what's important. Now that we have the time, since a large portion of the planet is ordered to stay at home, it's time to focus on what's important, not be hooked into the toxic news 24/7, but here at our home, we unplug and we have a fire pit. So in the evening we go and relax and listen to the crickets and, and just be with each other. Here in Colorado at 8 p.m., we've taken to howling in support of the first responders and the healthcare workers and everyone that's working in the midst of this crisis to kind of support everyone else. And it's great to hear, like we're all part of it together, even just as simple as howling for a few seconds together in the community, since we can't go and walk out with everyone else.
It's interesting you say that the howling of the animals actually raises the vibration of nature. And, just before we close out here, I'd just like to say a crisis, and I've said this before, and I learned this from a woman who was a healer. And a crisis allows us to look at what is twice. If you look at the spelling of it, CRISIS, and it's really to look at what is twice. We've been warned, and what nature does, nature will come, the reality of nature. If you don't live in reality, nature will come to, wake us up. And it's allowing, just as you said, to let's see what's really important in life. And, when I hear that, you, Lynn, Julian, sitting at at the fire pit or sitting and listening to the crickets. I like to go listen to the frogs, the peep frogs in the spring. That fills the soul. And that's really what it's about, to enjoy our life. And once we look at that, this is the perfect opportunity for total transformation of ourselves and for all of humanity and nature. And the time is now. And people are really hanging on to this, and they're moving forward in a very positive way. And it's nice to see, as you said, it's wonderful to see everyone's coming together to do this.